Hey guys, it's your course director, Emily Ray here. Just wanted to give you some positive, productive feedback on these text-based resumes that you recently submitted. So a couple of things to go over here as we start is I'm going to be looking to see if you're making a clear connection between the skills and experiences that you've listed, and then ultimately what your objective is in terms of getting a job in the media communications industry. At this point, early on in Portfolio 3, you might not have an idea of that, but it's something you need to be thinking about. Your resume should be crafted to highlight skills that illustrate your aptitudes in a particular area. For example, if you want to be a graphic designer, your resume should show skills and experience in that realm. If you want to get into PR or strategy, your resume needs to show skills or experience in that area. In addition to looking at what you've done at your various places of employment, what your responsibilities were, can you highlight any of your accomplishments? What was your signature impact in that role? What did you bring to the situation that only you could? These are the types of things that can set you apart from other applicants. Um, Spell checking. A lot of these applications that people are using to craft these resumes have built-in spell check, but please make sure that you have a trusted human eye on your resume as well. Sometimes words get duplicated or misused. I've had a number of students who want to say customers but have misspelled it to say costumers, and that hasn't shown up on a spell check. Additionally, this is probably the first of many, if not, the first of countless times that you will be asked to work on this resume, both part as of your degree in MCBS as part of your journey here, but also realizing that revising your resume is going to be an ongoing process, while you are in the working world. So keep adding to this. And then last but not least, our career development advisor for MCBS is Wendy Walzer. I've included her name and her contact information over here. If you have trouble with the articulation of your skills and experience, meaning that you've done some things but you're not quite sure how to talk about it or to find the words used to describe that, Wendy is a great contact. Career development works with you really intensely 3 months prior to your graduation, but they are available to you for questions even now. So I encourage you to establish a relationship with Wendy and get the ball rolling there. So I'm going to poke through these resumes one by one and just make a few notes. Again, this was not designed to be an exercise where you were focusing on the visual aesthetic. High five to any of you who put together something that looks great, but this was really supposed to be content focused. So I might offer a few thoughts about the design of the layout, but really I'm just looking sort of at the content here of what you put together. So first up, we're going to take a look at more insight here. So one of the things that I'm seeing that's common is my objective is to provide skills that I gained throughout school, right? So you're talking about skills that you gained in your degree program, but you're not being specific here. And to the extent that you want to apply these skills or use them, you're not showing that you have any experience in that area. So to me, I've identified a gap here between, you are doing, learning things and doing things, but, whether or not you have the experience, you haven't really detailed it fully here. I can see, that you are working with your own production company, but this is, not a lot of information to talk about what these skills are. So I encourage you to detail that a bit further. You've got your education here, which is great, and then just highlighting a few skills and the activities that you want to do. It seems that you do have experience, but it needs to be teased out a little bit more. If your work or if your line of, professional objectives yields visual content, meaning that you have something you can point to and say, I created that. You definitely want to include your portfolio website here because rather than just telling me what you can do, it's a great place to show. So again, I think the biggest opportunity here is to get a little bit clearer on this objective, what skills, right? Can you tease this out a little bit more and give me more information and perhaps a link to a portfolio where I can see that work? Next up, we're going to take a look at Ismail. So here, the objective is to work in the industry. You've got your skills summary here, then your education, and then your experience, right? So in terms of order, I know that this might follow the order of what was requested in the assignment, but I want you guys to be thinking that when you're putting together a resume, your experience is going to be the most important portion of it. That is going to be very content keyword rich, meaning this is the area whereby you will describe the things you've done in your past that show value, that can get you the types of jobs that you want to do in the future. So I understand that many of you are enrolled in school right now and don't have professional experience, and that's okay. And it's great because we're talking about it now when you're only halfway through the program. But we've identified a gap, right? And a gap between you're getting a degree in media communications, but you don't really have any tangible experience. You need to ask yourself, what can I do between now and graduation to get the experience that I need? Maybe that's an internship. Maybe it's volunteering. Maybe it's doing projects for friends. Maybe it's freelancing. But these are all opportunities that you're going to need to find for yourself, because you're not going to be able to send out a resume that doesn't show any experience. And when you graduate, ideally, you will have something listed here so that can help you get that first job. One of the other things I want to highlight for you guys is Adobe Creative Suite. You want to use the actual programs you want to list the actual programs that you know how to use. So whether that's Illustrator, Photoshop, Lightroom, that's keyword-rich content. Many times, a human resources professional or even a scanning software will look to the extent that your job or that your resume matches the posted job description. So if someone was looking for an individual who knew how to use Photoshop, I wouldn't actually know that you knew how to use Photoshop just by listing this here, because it just is kind of generally talking about the Adobe Creative Suite. So you want to get really specific there. Next up, we're going to take a look at Natasha's. So here, scrolling down, we've got the objective, looking for a position in media, production, location scout, some speaking to her character. We do have sort of like a difference in styles here. Not sure if that was purposeful or just sort of like a copy paste. Lots of education, skills and certifications. If you guys speak other languages, you definitely want to include that. And then some volunteer experience. So, what's sort of lacking, is more description of this professional experience. It looks like it kind of reads a little bit more like a talent sheet, right? Like, so these are the things that maybe you start in. So more details are needed here. You talk about I can solve issues in a timely manner, work well in customer service. How is that reflected in what you do here? I would spend a little bit more time detailing the roles that you played in these various positions and how that speaks to your qualifications, right? Just kind of going over, yeah. So it seems as if you have a good bit of experience, but it's not presented in a way that clearly connects you to what you say your objective is in this. I mean, when working in cinema and TV, were you doing location scout or production assistant? It's not clear from what you've listed here, so you definitely want to revisit that. Next up, we're looking at Leah's. So, it's clear that she has a passion for helping women through self-care and guidance. You talk about customer service and communications. This is all really great. Let's see. This seems, I love that you've included all of this information because it gives me a more full picture of what it is that you're trying to do. But at the same time, it seems like a little bit, it's broad in the sense that you have a lot of different things, and I'm not quite sure that it's painting like this cohesive picture of what it is that you're trying to do. And that's okay, because this assignment was really just to get it all down on paper. So, it's clear that you have a lot of great experience. I appreciate, the details that you're adding here. I'd like us to work together moving forward about sort of what is your ultimate goal. I know that you have many sort of irons in the fire, so to speak, just to look for ways that we can be pushing forward with those in sort of a cohesive and intentional manner. So like if you want to get back to me on that, your work history is extensive, and a lot of it backs up what you are talking about up here. So maybe just getting a little bit, clear on the pitch, so to speak, about like what it is that you're trying to do and how all of these things play into that. As far as layout goes, this is very clean. There's some stylistic variations or deviations, whether that's the line spacing that we see here, whether it's the black text or the gray text. And this is just wasted space, and it pushes your resume, onto, 2 pages. It probably still would go to 2 pages, but I encourage you to be thinking about how can I streamline what I'm trying to say about myself and my skills and experience and be able to fit that onto a single page. Again, if you guys have portfolio websites, they should be listed here on your resumes. All right, so here we've got Matthew Goldsmith. You're looking to use the skills and experiences you have in media. Looks like you've got a heavy production background. You have done media for your church and a few other places. I would encourage you to use more words to describe what you did in each of these roles. And have them be not just like responsibility based, like I was responsible for this, but what was your sort of accomplishment? What was your approach? What was the unique value that you brought into that situation? Great that you're including volunteer work as well. You have some skills and experience listed in this area. I just encourage you, with 1 year left, to maybe think in this program, to think about how you can get more experience and how you can show that experience, because just as powerful as saying I did this, to have something to back that up. Next up, we're looking at Jedediah's. So a very kind of clean layout here. You want to use the skills that you've learned in school, but like I want to encourage you guys to think about this in a broad context where people don't know what skills you learned in school. People don't know the industry unless you're sort of like spelling it out. So don't say I'm looking to use the skills, say I'm looking to use graphic design skills or this particular software or this production process, in the media communications industry, right? Scrolling down, looking at your skills and experience in this area, you've got a few jobs here. Auto service, Domino's, those things might not be, corresponding, shall we say, with your objectives in media communications. But I encourage you guys to think about how can you talk about what you did even at Domino's to highlight soft skills or things that people can look at and say, oh, this would be someone I would want on my team. At Domino's, did you do customer service? Were you in charge of anything that had to do with money? Were you a manager? Did you put any systems into place that made the store run more efficiently? So it's definitely something that you can dissect a little bit further to find value in that experience. Looks like we've got your education. This is a great start, but I, again, would encourage you guys to be a little bit more specific in your language and how you talk about the things that you've done. And next up, we've got Carlene. So objective, a journalist, looking to develop latest news. So there's no experience listed, and that's a big, it's a gap, right? It's a gap between saying that you're this thing, but not saying that you're a journalist, but not having anything to show for it. Certainly within the time you have left in the program, part of this portfolio process is to ask yourself, how does all of this stuff apply to me? And how can I create a body of work that shows what I'm learning in school? So if you want to be a journalist, you need to have things that showcase that. And so whether it's a blog, whether you're a contributing auditor to the a contributing author to the Odyssey Online, whether you are writing fan fiction, all of these things can help showcase your skills and talents in writing. And writing is actually really hard, so it's something that not a lot of people do, and certainly not a lot of people do well. So you have a leg up if that's something that you want to get into. So definitely between now and the next time you need to submit this, I encourage you to take on a few projects. When we talk about these SMART goals every month, like this is where you need to be thinking about, well, if I don't have the skills and experience to showcase that I'm a journalist, maybe one of my SMART goals should be to take on a project that will do that. Last but not least, we're going to take a look at Diane's here. So it looks as if she wants to get into graphic design, but also be in a senior leadership capacity in doing so. You've got a lot of skills and experience listed here. Again, happy that you guys tease out when you do the actual software applications, because that's important, keyword-rich content. Talk about your communication skills and being service-oriented. I appreciate the the inclusion of things like storyteller and strategist. Talking about sort of your experience again. You cite being a designer, a storyteller, and a strategist, yet you don't have any experience to show for that. So how can you do that? And how can you do that within the time that you have before you graduate? So my encouragement is that as you move on to next portfolio class, or when you have some free time, you guys need to be conceptualizing and executing projects or internships that allow you to get the skills, the experience, and the assets, right? So the portfolio assets that you can point to and say, look at this, actually I am an exceptional designer, I am an exceptional storyteller. So without that, it's just sort of words, like it's not backed up with a work history or any sort of deliverable. So my encouragement to all of you guys moving forward into your next sort of back half of the MCBS program is that you use your portfolio courses or any downtime that you have to create projects that will showcase what you want to showcase about your skills and experience. If you guys have any questions about this feedback or how you might do that, please get in touch.